Okay. Then, so copy the table from one database to another database, and how to copy the data from one table to another table. So this is what we learned in the last class. And you also learned, so what is the merge? What is the purpose of merge? How to use merge then. So this is what you learned in the last class. Next. But the table we created, the replica we created, okay. So the replica we created, this is permanent table. This table is permanent. Okay. So this EMP10. EMP10 is replica, this table. So this table is permanent. But sometimes you want to create temporary. You want to create the temporary tables. Then, so temporary tables. Okay. So temporary tables. Then, so what are temporary tables? Okay. Then why they are called temporary? Because these tables exist up to the session. Okay. The tables exist up to the session. Once session terminates, the tables are automatically deleted. So that is why they are called temporary. Okay. Then, so these tables are called temporary because they exist up to the session. Oh, so up to the session. Then, so okay, once session, then once session terminates, so these tables are automatically deleted. Okay, then exist session during the session. Once session closes, the tables are automatically deleted. What is session means? Session means session. What is session means? So the time between login and log out. So the time between login and log out. Here, once again, suppose now open the database, new query. Now you logged in. The session started. Okay. You started a session. Now the session is started. You execute the queries. Next, once completed, close this. The session is terminated. Here you started the session. You perform some operations. Next, close. The session is terminated. So this is called session. Okay. Then, so these tables exist up to the session. Once session terminates, the tables are automatically deleted. Okay. Then next. And temporary tables are stored in. So they're not created. Like suppose, for example, okay. So what the database open DB 7 AM. Now, if you create a temporary table, so it's not created in DB 7 AM. The temporary tables are not stored in DB 7 AM. They are stored in, so they are stored in one database, a separate database. What the database is? Okay, the temporary tables are stored in system databases. In system databases, there is a temp database. So the temporary tables are stored in temp DB. Even you create in DB7am, but they are not created in DB7am. They are stored separately in temp database. Okay, then now. So temp database, temp DB. Next. Okay, now. So temporary tables are two types. One is, okay, then one is local temporary tables. One is local temporary tables. Next, the second one, global temporary tables. Global temporary tables. So there are two types. Okay, then. So what are the differences? Difference is scope. Then. So same, but difference is scope. So there are two types, local temporary tables, global temporary tables. Okay, na? Then. Actually, why we create temporary tables? So they are created for storing the data temporarily. So temporary tables are created for storing the data temporarily. Okay, then. So temporary tables then. Okay. So temporary tables are used to store intermediate results. To store intermediate results. Okay. Then. Okay. So temporary tables are used to store intermediate results. Then. Okay. Suppose like for example, so there is a complex scenarios. Okay. Then you want to do some steps of you want to implement that complex scenario. You want to perform that. So then you need to follow some steps, step one, step two, step three, like that. Okay, you don't get by writing a single query. You need to write multiple queries. So first you have to perform some step one, next step two, next step three. After step one, whatever the output you'll get, so you store that in temporary table. Okay. So step two results, store it in some temporary table. Step three results, store it in some temporary tables. For storing the intermediate results, so we use temporary tables. Okay, then. So first we'll see local temporary tables. Okay, local temporary tables. Then. So these tables, local temporary tables. Okay, then local temporary tables created in one session and and can be accessed can be accessed can be accessed in the same session in which it is created. Okay, then. So it is created in one session and can be accessed in the same session in which it is created. You cannot access this local temporary tables in another session. So that is the difference between local and global temporary tables. Whereas global temporary tables created in one session can be accessed in another session. But local temporary tables are created in one session, can be accessed only within the session in which it is created, can't be accessed in another session. Okay, then. So how to create the, like, how to create. And this local temporary tables, okay, for local temporary tables, table name should be prefixed with hash. Okay, the table name should be prefixed with hash. So local temporary table are prefixed with what? Prefixed with hash symbol. Okay, then. So how to create? Let's say example then. So how to create? Let's see, that, creating temporary table. The keyboard is not working like properly. So there is a problem with this keyboard. So like, let's see. So there are two methods. Method one. One method is this. So create table, suppose that table name, but table name should be prefixed with hash. Table name should be prefixed with hash. Okay, just give the table name. Suppose I'm giving temp, like temp. Okay, next. So then one field is suppose employee number integer, some name, field name, e name varchar. Next, another one, sal money. So just create the next one more field. Suppose, for example, rank. I want to store rank also. I want to store rank. Rank is also integer. Okay, then. So then create this. Let me execute this command. Okay, then execute this command. So execute commands completed successfully. So temporary table is created with name temp. So check this where it is created. It's not created in our database. It is created in temp database. You just check this. So just open system databases, temp database. So here there is a called temporary tables. Just open this temporary tables, dbo.hash temp. Okay, then. So the temporary tables are stored in temp database, not stored in our database. Then, okay, now the table created, but what is created is the table structure is created. And I want to insert the data into this temporary table. Okay, so what data you want to use it for your actual task? Okay, my actual requirement is different. So for finding that actual requirement, I want this data. I want numbers, names, salaries, and ranks. Okay. So get this data from EMP table, insert the data into temporary table. Then how? So what is the query to get the ranks. Okay. So what is the query to get the ranks of the employees? Select EMPNO, name. Next one, salary. Next one, rank. Okay, rank. So then how to find the rank? Dense rank. So there is a function dense rank. Then X over order by. Okay, then so dense rank over order by. Order by salary. Salary descend. Okay, then so descending as RNK. Okay, then as RNK from EMP. So from EMP. So this query gives, so each and every employee rank, I want this data into, I want to insert this data into temporary table. So then, so what this query gives? This query gives what? Ranks. Okay. So whatever the data written by this query, I want to store this data into temporary table. Then, so what you have to say, how to insert this query output into temporary table? How to insert the query output into table? So you have to write like this, what insert into, insert into, okay, insert into, so hash temp. So what is inserted into this temporary table? This query output. Whatever data written by this query, that is inserted into temporary table. Now, let's see. Then, so 14 rows affected. Now next, now you perform operations on temporary table. Instead of performing operations on table, whatever the data required, so store the data into temporary table. Now perform operations on temporary table like this. What? So suppose select start from what? Select start from hash temp where you see the data. Select start from hash temp. So it is showing ranks of the employees, but I don't want all the ranks. I want top 5. So where RNK less than or equals to 5. So you'll get top 5 employees. I want fifth highest paid. Rank equals to 5. Okay, then. So get the required data from table, store the data into temporary table, perform operations on temporary table. Okay, so every time instead of going to the actual table, so store the data in temporary table. So perform operations on temporary table. Then, so this is one method. What the another method is? Another method to create. So then, so you can say like this. Select, see, this is the query. So this is the query output. Okay, then. So this is the query and store this output into temporary table. How to create the replica? How you created the replica? You created the replica like select star into EMP10. What happens? A new table is created with name EMP10. What is copied to this EMP10? This query output. This query output is copied to emp10. Similarly, you create the temporary table like that. How? Then select star into into then. So what? Hash temp. So same thing. What happens is this query output is, but in last class we created the uh, replica like this, CMP10 like this. But this is permanent table. But you want to create temporary table and prefix with hash. So after executing this command, a temporary table is created with name hash temp, and this query output is copied to the temporary table. That's all. So there are two ways. Okay, then. So I'm closing the session. See, already we created one temporary table as temp. I'm closing the session. Let's close the session. Again, open. So DB is 7 a.m. Again, open. Now see that select start from select star. Select star from hash temp. Yeah. So let's see, execute. So it is saying invalid object. Why? Okay. So it is saying invalid object because what is it? These temporary tables exist up to the session. So once you close the session, these tables are automatically deleted. Okay. Then no. So next I want to see, this is another method to create the temporary table. So creating the replica, but this replica is not permanent table, it is temporary. Now let me run this query. 14 rows affected, 14 rows copied. Now perform operations on temporary table. Okay, then now next. So see display. Okay, then so top 5 employees. Okay, so display top 5 employees. Then now, so select that star from hash them then where then rnk less than or equals to 5. That's it. Okay. Yeah. No, that's all. So this is then temporary tables. You already know one method like temporary tables. You already know one. Already we discussed one method storing the query output. So what is that is? So we stored query output in one table and next you performed the operations on that table. What is that is?
CT.
CT. Yes, yes, yes. CT. Okay. Then, so this is also one frequently asked question. What is the difference between CT and temporary tables? Okay. So the difference is like CTs exist. Okay. So CTs exist up to the session. Okay. CTs exist. Sorry. CTs exist up to this query. Then. So we can use this CTS within this query. You cannot use this E another query. So we can use this. This is the scope. The scope of the CT is up to this query only. So temporary table scope is up to the session. So here the scope is up to this query. Okay. So we cannot access this CTS in another query. But whereas temporary table scope is up to the session. So that is the difference. And what SQL server says, if the amount of data is less, if the amount of data is less, use CTE. If amount of data is more, okay, you want to store large amount of data, then use temporary tables because the CTEs are created in memory. The CTEs are created in memory. In memory means RAM. So the CTEs are created in RAM, but temporary tables are created in database. Okay, so compared to like databases, RAM size will be always very less. RAM size will be less compared to the hard disk. Database means hard disk. So that is the reason what SQL Server recommends. If the amount of data is small, so better use CTE. If amount of data is used, better use temporary tables. That's all. Okay, then. Now, then. So what is the difference then? So difference between, okay, CTE and temporary tables. CTE, then one. So one difference, then the scope and scope of the CTE is up to the query. Then up to the query in which it is declared. Then next, scope of the temporary tables. Scope. Scope of the temporary tables. Tables. So up to the, okay, session. Like this up to the session. So till you close the session, we can use temporary table. Next. So use CTE for storing small amount of data. Yeah. And use then. So oh, oh. So the keyboard is not working. Oh, So will you be available on this Saturday? My India, my Saturday.
Saturday morning means Friday evening.
Evening, Friday evening for you.
Yes,
Hmm?
I am available. I am available, but not sure about others.
Uh, so what about others?
Saturday means Saturday, Sunday actually always problem for us. We have the weekend and a lot of things have always be there. What time, Vijay?
This time only, same time.
Oh no, that not will be possible probably for us. I think I don't know about Joy.
Yeah. What time is okay? Like Saturday morning is available, but Saturday
I think
morning. Saturday morning means
fine for me.
my Saturday evening.
Yeah,
Saturday morning is okay.
yeah. Saturday morning is fine for me. What about Joy? Let's see. Like,
Joy and Srini.
Yes, yes, I am
yeah,
fine with that.
uh,
Yeah.
Okay.
Morning mean what time?
Morning means your morning.
So like maybe 10 o'clock?
Yes, yes, yes. Okay.
Okay, 10
Yes,
o'clock.
Yeah. Okay.
mm,
So your 10 means maybe my 8, I think.
8:30.
8. Okay. 7:30, I think. 7:38.
Okay, I mean, like you guys are in EST or CST?
EST.
EST.
Oh, okay,
EST,
okay. I
yeah?
am in CST.
Yeah,
So
we are EST.
like EST, CST, two time zone.
EST.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay then.
Mm, where EST?
I'll inform on Friday evening.
Okay,
My
okay.
Friday
No
evening.
problem.
Okay, na?
Sure, Vijay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay then. So here, this problem, there is a problem here.
It's fine if you have
Hey, Vijay,
anything.
how many
Not a problem.
class we need? How many more hour we need?
Actually, here, so there are two parts. One part is SQL. There is
And
one part
TSQL.
TSQL is
Yep.
also there.
TSQL. TSQL.
Oh, okay, okay, okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
We are about to end SQL part.
Okay.
Okay.
Then next we'll start TSQL.
Okay, nice.
TSQL. Okay.
That's good. Thank
So
you.
here the number of topics are less in TSQL. Only few topics are there. Then
All
Okay.
right. All right.
okay.
Thank you, man. Thank you,
Uh,
Vijay.
yes.
Okay. Thank
Okay.